Hi, everyone. Welcome to our panel this week. Today, we have a wonderful cohort mate of ours. We're going to be focusing on our topic of the week, which is religious oppression. We have a set of questions that I'll be asking them. And then after he introduces himself, we're going to dive right in.
Hi everyone, my name is Gaurav Harshi, he, him, his. I'm so excited to be here to start off our religious oppression reflection, asynchronous activity, and I hope you find some good pointers from this whole activity that we're building for you folks.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction. So our first question is, how do you align yourself in religion and in spirituality?
Absolutely. So I think this is one kind of a very wonderfully worded question, just because of the two phrases or the two words that are both being used, religion as well as spirituality. I think religion-wise, I identify as a Hindu faith identifying person, and then spirituality-wise, I have a lot of different things that have a lot of different faiths that have informed my spirituality, including Christianity, Roman Catholicism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam as well. So a lot of different things have contributed to that spiritual identity and understanding. But for my way of life and for my religion and for my faith identification, I am a Hindu by and large.
Thank you so much for providing that and for providing that perspective. So for our second question, looking back at your religious socialization, how has it been shaped by Christian hegemony?
Absolutely. So I think this question is also wonderfully formed in the way that it talks about Christian hegemony, and you will see in the other panelists that are speaking on this topic more deeply that a lot of our a lot of our situations are based on Christian hegemony, and I would even go and further say white Christian hegemony. When you think about India being one of the colonized, Commonwealth countries, how have Western civilizations, mostly white colonizers, colonized these spaces that are mostly persons of color spaces, and then taken that Christian values and sophistication and the word of God to these spaces, and then that is when the hegemony begins. For me specifically, I'm a product of that hegemony. I'm a product of that Christian hegemony, specifically because of my upbringing in the Jesuit educational institution. So I studied in St. Stanislaus High School, which was first started by Spanish missionaries in India way back in the 1600s. And then in 1800 something, that is when they actually became a school, an educational institute. And later on, it spread all across their word and their work spread all across India, and a lot of educational institutes in today's India as a country are mostly Jesuit run. And it's wonderful how that has shaped the Indian, the religious identity, but also my identity in terms of spirituality, because I can say, the Our Father when I go to bed, but I can also say my own Hindu prayers when I go to bed. When you have like St. Peter's feast or St. Ignatius of Loyola feast, I used to go to church and we used to sit in the balcony of the church and not take communion, but all the other Roman Catholic students used to take communion, and that was the only difference between us and them. So a lot of it was kind of encultured into how I've been brought up, how the socialization has been brought up. In my school specifically, we had about 50% Roman Catholic students and then 50% everybody else, which includes Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims, Buddhists, a lot of Protestants as well, which was not Roman Catholic specifically. But we all studied in the same sets of value system, that it was Jesuit, which was again Roman Catholic. So how then do you separate yourself from that, Hindu faith identifying as a person versus, the Jesuit values that are so ingrained in Christian or Roman Catholic identity? So it was kind of a difficult situation then. When Christmas came around, we used to, go and we used to listen to Christmas carols on the intercom, and that was something that we used to do every Christmas time. Also, there was like competitions in school where somebody would dress up as, Santa Claus, and somebody would have like a bell. So like all of these different things, but we never really celebrated uh, Hindu festivals anytime, just because we were a Catholic school, although secular, but we were only celebrating Christianity and Easter and Good Friday and Ash Wednesday and all of those things. So there was always a little bit of an ingrained identity misalignment or assimilation to the Roman Catholic values unknowingly in a way. And that was something that our parents back home also, struggled with. Is like when my dad was going to put me to, when my mom was going to put me to this English medium school, where the medium of teaching is English, and many of the English medium schools are Jesuit or convent or sister or nuns that are running these, which are linked to Christianity, versus when my dad was thinking of putting me in a vernacular medium school where I would learn in my local language, in my mother tongue. There was always this kind of a tiff as to, where would my child like go? And English is the up and going thing. You cannot succeed in today's like economy, in today's world, without learning English. So that was something that had to be taken into account when you think about schooling. And that is very, very, very key when you think about religious socialization overall. I think that's kind of my complicated answer to that question.
No, thank you so much just for sharing, how Christian hegemony has kind of played out and has played a role in all the spaces and experiences that you've had across your life. So for my next question, how do you think religious education or the lack of religious literacy has played into your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think as a Hindu identifying person that is from, like, we have different castes in our community, where some castes are for religious literacy, where they perform the priestly duties, versus some other castes are not or forbidden from. So it's something that I, in my own caste, like identity, did not necessarily explore much, was the education of that. And that is something that was difficult just because of the fact that we are, as in our Hindu community, are responsible for taking the Hindu culture forward. But what does me being somebody educated in a Jesuit, community, can align with those values? So there was a lot of different factors at play that led me to not be religiously literate in my own experiences. And that is something that I'm trying to do more and more now, in trying to understand where my culture is, where I am necessarily from, to just kind of situate myself and then also give back to the community in a more authentic way, uh, as we also go through the higher ed program and our own identity development.
Thank you for that. So for our last question, what do you think is needed across educational institutions to create social justice in interfaith communities?
Absolutely. So when you think about interfaith communities, also actually the word interfaith was developed by the church. When you think about relation between the Christian, Jewish, and Islamic populations, so even the word interfaith has its own connotations around how you create social justice. So while we're using interfaith for all intents and purposes, which is good, we also want to see how we want to use more representative phrases and words and terminologies. Worldview is one of them. So I think when educational institutes are thinking about how you connect all of these interfaith communities, we want to start where we start with, like, the words interfaith, or these basic foundational ideas about our interfaith understanding within our communities, so that from there we can start and develop some of those nuanced conversations. And I think overall, we just need to acknowledge and name some of our problems when it comes to Christian hegemony, white Christian privilege, when we celebrate Christianity and Christmas, but not necessarily celebrate Diwali or Eid, when Muslim students are actually fasting and they still have to do final examination. So how are we providing accommodations in that sense? But without going too far out in terms of accommodations and all those, issues, I would say first acknowledging what problems we have, what are our communities already in our college campuses, and just acknowledging that students need those inclusive spaces to foster growth and succeed. That is one of my biggest, you know, asks of an educational institute.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying just how important that language is in like creating this social justice piece. I think that that's not talked about a lot, even in like the literature that we see. So thank you for providing that perspective. So really, thank you for your time today. That's going to be the end of our panel today. Thanks.